Well, hey, everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 18 of Dororo. And yeah, I finally got some comments. And we can talk about this episode. Last week, of course, all the roads converge to this island where we have Shark Boy, hoo ha ha, holding, I would say holding hostage, but not really, pursuing, pursuing the pirates that include Itachi that have tied Dororo to a tree, and they're looking for the treasure that Dororo's dad promised them. I don't know how that's going to go. I really am hoping that the treasure they're looking at or looking for isn't what they think it is, and when they find it, they'll be like, what's this? And that'll be about the time that the shark demon attacks, and then Hyakkimaru will show up. The only problem is that Tahomaru and his crew are going there as well, so I'm a bit concerned. I don't want Dororo to get taken by Tahomaru because Hyakkimaru needs to talk to Dororo first. I feel like there needs to be a reunion between Dororo and between Hyakkimaru before we can get to the final showdown against Daigo, because I'm sure Daigo is the final showdown. Has to be, right? We would think so. And then I don't know how this whole thing with Tahomaru is going to go. Hyakkimaru does not have his leg because Jukai did not give it back to him, although they seem to like reach a mutual term with each other. So I'm worried about that. I think that if Hyakkimaru kills the shark demon, he'll gain his leg back, but then what do we do? Where do we go from there? So there's a lot to think about, and there's a lot that could happen this episode, and that has me excited. As far as the comments go, I've got some comments. I want to go back down here to, there's one from episode 13 from Jay the Cat that says there was a PS2 game adaptation of this series called Blood Will Tell, and it was so good. You start the game playing in black and white because Hyakkimaru doesn't have his real eyes yet. That's really cool. I mean, we all know he's going to get them eyes back. That OP is any indication, or at least we hope he does. I'm assuming he does. So we'll see. But that's really cool. That's an interesting aspect of the game to be able to play like that. So I like it. And then Moomin Oket Komet from episode 14 says, so I propose the reason, and this is talking about the tattoo. The reason that Dororo didn't remember the tattoo being applied was due to drugging her. Okay, first to anesthesia, to put some antiseptic, they would have to put Dororo under anesthesia because it's painful. Second, because it would traumatize her. And third, to keep it a secret from a chatty child until they could understand it. So anesthesia it is. What they gave her to put to sleep, who knows? But I'm sure that there were some mild sedatives used in Japan at the time. And then they made the quote, Dororo's on children's Tylenol for a while. I thought that was really, really funny while they were healing. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they drugged Dororo. I'm sure they drugged them and that was a thing. Do I think that it's like, what did they give them? I mean, it's an explanation. It's like they gave them some mystical children's Tylenol that worked back in the day. I'm like, okay, sure. I wish that was explained a little more, but it's fine. It's okay. It's not a make or break scene. And then Anime Annie adds to that, saying, for Dororo not remembering, there is the possibility of Ojiya and Hibukuro giving Dororo some type of sleeping agent, potentially gotten from flowers, plants, fungi along their journey, so Dororo didn't feel them marking her and to ensure she'd be completely still while it was done. So the drugging all makes sense, although Moomin had brought up, like, invisible ink and things like that, and I don't know if that was, accurate of the time, but again, it's involving a story with demon moths. So we do have to suspend our disbelief just a little bit, and so that's fine. The point is, though, that Itachi has the map entirely now, so either the map's gotta go or something's gonna happen. My mind is swimming with so many possibilities as to what could happen in this episode. So I'm going to be very curious to see how the confrontation goes between Hyakkimaru and Tahomaru, about Hyakkimaru getting Dororo, about Itachi in the map, about the shark demon. There's like all these factors that are figuratively and literally swimming around this island that we just need to see how that's going to go down. So yeah. But anyway, I had a snow day today and I was off work and I was like, I want to watch Dororo. So there we are. But it looks like there are 2 ads in here and y'all know how that goes. But I'm excited. I hope you all are too. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive right into episode 18 of Dororo. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's jam. well. So, well, that wrapped a lot of things up, kind of, but not really. So, oh, wow. Okay. That was a really good episode. I liked that episode a lot. It is so sad to see Tahomaru and Hyakkimaru fighting. It's so sad. And to see how far that Tahomaru has fallen, and that him, like, in the conquest of protecting his people, he's literally trying to kill his own brother. And the worst part is, it doesn't make a difference, because the whole thing with Daigo has already been broken, as the mom has found out. So it's like, you're just fighting him for no reason now. And the worst part is, Hyakkimaru, you've made him your enemy. So at this point, I don't know if there's... The worst part is, I kept thinking that maybe early on, like around episode 12 or 13, I was like, well, maybe the mom can reach Tahomaru and he'll think about it and he'll mull it over and reflect and maybe talk to some other people and get some more information and then change his mind about Hyakkimaru and realize how bad his dad is. And that is not happening. No, he's doubling down pretty hardcore. And the worst part is Mutsu and Hyogo are as well. But I don't know. I feel like Tahomaru, in going down this route and being as heartless as he is, this series seems to not reward heartlessness. In fact, it seems to punish it more than anything. So whereas you have Dororo, that's this beacon of light and this little saintly figure that has amazing fortune because of how kind they are, I have a feeling that Tahomaru, in pursuing this like monstrous, practically demonic route that they're going on because they're losing their humanity and chasing after Hyakkimaru, I feel like it's going to make them lose his two friends. Hyogo had death flags on him after this episode. I was like, I don't like where this is headed. And Mutsu, I wouldn't be surprised either. Like, I feel as if because Tahomaru is so hell-bent on killing his brother, I feel like it's going to backfire in ways that are going to have bad repercussions. And I don't like where that's headed. So, but we'll see. We'll see. So we go back, the Cave of Impermanence. The Cave of Impermanence. And if you are curious as to what impermanence means, it means that it's only temporary. So I like that is the Cape of Impermanence. I like that this idea of this temporalness with the story, because the money that is in the mountain, which it looked like a lot of money, granted, it did look like a lot of money. It's kind of like when you pull out $10,000 and you look and you're like, that doesn't seem like a lot, but it's $10,000. There's a lot of gold in that cave. So probably they're going to have a lot of possibilities to use that in the future if Dororo comes back to get it. I'm glad Dororo left it, because I was like, what are you going to do with that money right now? They can't take it out of the cave. And then what are they going to do with it? So the fact that Dororo could come back as an adult, maybe, because they know where the cave is. And the thing is, now what's interesting is that Dororo probably will remember where things are based on what's happened in this episode, but the map is kind of useless now because like the statues in the map are gone. They've all fell down the cliff, so nobody's going to be able to find that. So I think it'll be interesting, but I like the concept of impermanence, that's temporary. The gold is temporary. Power is temporary. And I feel like that's such a good message in this episode, because, yeah, you can take the gold, but what's it going to do for you? For how long? Itachi died wanting the gold and never got it, and it didn't matter in the end. In the end, the gold's going to get you so far, but eventually it's going to run out. And then what? You know, there's a lot of things in this episode that tied to that concept of impermanence and fleetingness that I thought was really interesting to bring up, and I'm glad that it did. So I'm really excited to see that moving forward with the story. But yeah, so at this cape, they have the map and everything. I like the concept that Dororo's dad rigged the cave with explosives to try to, like, yeah, you can get to the gold, but you're gonna have to find, like, it felt like each of the little markers, like the dots on the map, were different places where explosives were kind of buried. So you could find the treasure or you could blow up, or both. It's, you know, I thought that was a really interesting choice, and I liked that they did that. I do feel, if I'm being honest with you, I do feel like the shark and Shiranui was underutilized in these two episodes. I love a good shark. I like a Jaws motif, and I really was expecting the sharks to have more of a role. The fact that Hyakkimaru instantly defeated the shark, I was like, oh, we're already done with that. We just gotta, I feel like, I don't know how I would have done it differently. I think what I would have done is, I think you could have had like it just be absolute chaos. Now, granted, in that absolute chaos, would that have been beneficial to Dororo in the end? I don't know. It kind of worked out pretty well for them, but I was full on expecting for the shark demon to be like it was and to be like a land shark where it could get up on there and start attacking things. But I thought it was going to go after Itachi's crew. And in the process of going after Itachi's crew, I thought it was going to stumble across Tahomaru and his people, and they were all going to be like a demon shark, and then it was just going to be chaos. And in the midst of the chaos, Hyakkimaru was going to swoop in, kill the demon shark, and get Dororo, and then they were going to run off and he was going to get his leg back. Now, I say that as if it was all going to work out perfectly, but if that had been the case, what probably would have happened was Hyakkimaru would have got stuck killing the shark, and then as his leg was growing back, they probably like Hyogo and then probably would have shot him and killed him. So it probably wouldn't have worked out that way like I thought it was going to, but I really didn't expect the sharks to be like defeated that quickly in the episode. Although it did pan out because it did lead Shiranui to setting off the bombs, which caused the landslide, which hurt Hyogo, which caused Hyakkimaru and Tahomaru to stop fighting. So in the best of ways, it all worked out in the story and the plot connected. It just was not at all how I thought it was going to be. But I do feel like they were a little underutilized. I would have liked to have gotten more Shiranui. We got that little bit with his mom, which was really sad, but I kept wanting just a smidgen more, just a wee bit more, and we didn't get it, but it's fine. I did kind of in a way feel bad for him. This series is so good at taking villains and antagonistic characters, with the exception of Daigo. I don't feel bad for Daigo. But it makes you kind of feel bad for these characters in a way. Like with Shiranui, losing his mom, being raised by sharks. I did not think I would feel a smidgen of sympathy for Itachi, but when he saved Dororo at the very end, I was like, okay, at least you did a little bit of atonement there for Dororo's parents by saving her. All right, fine. You're on a rung a little bit higher than Daigo, not by much, but by a tiny, tiny bit. But these characters, they're all great. And even Tahomaru, who frustrates me because I like Tahomaru's character so much, and to see him go down this dark path when and here's the thing, he's all about saving his people and everything, but you can tell how much he's kind of like started to go down this demonic path because he wasn't like take them prisoner. He said, kill them all. And that is a very, very distinct difference in humanity, whether you take people prisoner or you kill them. There is a humanity difference there, and him choosing to kill them all, and Hyogo and Mutsu going along with it. I mean, that speaks for them too. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for them when they've made these choices, but at the same time, I like his character, and I'm like, why can't you just be better? Why? But I've spoken enough about that in the episodes. So I did not expect a Jiromaru to be, I didn't think Dororo was like right on the shoreline. I thought they had taken Dororo up into the trees and then tied her up there, but no, she was right there on the shore, which ended up working out anyway. But yeah, so Jiromaru eats the other shark. They're all cannibalistic. They all consume each other, which, in a lot of cultures, there is an act of cannibalism that is an act of like ingesting the body to like take it in, and it's part of a burial ceremony. But I'm not really the one to speak on that, but I do know that it takes place. I do like its demon form. I do like when it's this white shark with like the webbed feet, and it's all like, it looks like a Shy Guy mixed with a shark from Mario. Like it's really cool. I like its design. It's creepy. But yeah. But then Dororo has the best luck. Dororo has the most luck. Like the goddess of mercy has protected Dororo because that shark should have ate Dororo, and instead it just got the tree instead and set Dororo free. And then Hyakkimaru shows up to kill the shark. I do feel kind of bad for Shiranui. Shiranui's just there with his shark bro. He's already lost one shark bro, and then this random stranger comes up and just kills the other one. Like his entire found family is destroyed within 10 minutes of this episode. And he doesn't even know the person that killed him. Also, Dororo tearing up when Hyakkimaru came to her side. was really sweet. It was really sweet. And then her getting on to Hyakkimaru being like, where have you been? How could you do this? So Hyakkimaru gets his leg back. I love Hyakkimaru pinching Dororo's cheek. And then, of course, Dororo blushing. And I love when Hyakkimaru, like, does the head nod and everything. This episode does bring up a point. Would Dororo and Hyakkimaru end up together? Way, way down the line? Like, Dororo's, 10 or 11? And Hyakkimaru was 16. So there's not a whole lot of age difference between them, but there's enough. For right now anyway. I don't know how I feel about that. There's a part of me that likes them just as brother and sister, just platonic brother and sister, that I like them together. And if, down the road, Dororo meets someone to be with, Hyakkimaru meets somebody to be with, I like that. There is a small part of me that's like, I could see them growing up and when they are adults being together after all they've been through. There's a part of me that could see that, but I don't know. I don't really have a direction I feel more inclined towards. I'm kind of open to either, but just not right now. For right now, they're brother and sister, and they're siblings, and that's really sweet when he does a little head nudge, because that's how he acknowledges that he likes you, is the head nudge. And Dororo's like, what the heck, bro? But I do love Dororo being happy to see Hyakkimaru. It's really cute. So Hyakkimaru has his legs back. I thought it was interesting that Shiranui immediately realizes what has happened and says, you went through all of this. You killed Jiromaru just to become human again. Is it that important to you? Which for Shiranui, it's like humanity are terrible and they're monsters, which Tahamaru and the others are kind of proving that in this episode, but he's like, humans are monsters. And he's like, why would you want to become like them? Like, he's like, I was raised by demons and they were much better. So it's an interesting twist. But whenever Shira said, is it that important to you? And Dororo was like, well, let's just leave. I really wanted Hyakkimaru to answer Shira's question about, is it that important to you? And Dororo, I'm sure, doesn't think that Hyakkimaru has an answer. But Dororo also doesn't know that Hyakkimaru has talked to Jukai and had this like soul-searching moment. So I feel like the show is waiting on that. I feel like the show is waiting for Hyakkimaru to make that statement of why becoming human is important. And I feel like whenever Hyakkimaru faces Daigo or Tahomaru, because I don't think him and Tahamaru are done. I think that they're going to come back and face each other again. I think when that happens, he might vocalize that to both of them of why he wants to be human. But I like that Hyakkimaru is getting these questions asked to him and he's being forced to think about them. That's important. So yeah, so the guys go in. There are random moments in this episode where the gore just happens. It just happens. And you're like, oh, like the random, like the cave blowing up and a guy's arm just like flops down in the cave. And there's just a random person's arm. And Tachi's like, well, can't do that anymore. Just an arm standing there. And he's like, I knew you weren't a good for nothing Hibukuro. Uh-huh. So then, of course, Tahamaru is coming this way on the ship and they're going after. And then he basically says that Tahamaru tells everybody that there's signs of others sneaking on the Cape, but it doesn't matter. We're going to kill. It's a band of brigands. We're going to kill every human being who's a threat to the peace of our people. So they know that they're brigands, which have been fighting with the samurai for years. So there's already bad blood there. And he believes that they're a threat to their people. It's just that idea of when you kill first and ask questions never, that's a problem. Like if you decide that you talk with these group of people and you're like, oh no, actually you're a bunch of murderers that are a threat to our people. Okay, then that makes sense. Then it's like, okay, but they didn't even say, they're like, oh, we think they're bandits. Let's just kill them. Like no questions asked, not to see who they are, nothing. And I feel like that's what Shiro is getting at, is that they're all monsters. They don't think like humans, or how do humans even think? And Mutsu and Hyogo, they just go along with Tahomaru because they're loyal to him. But I would like to, they probably know, just as we, the audience, do, that this is not the Tahomaru that was back in episode 9 or 10 that I really liked. This is Daigo Jr. that's doing the same thing as Dad did. And it's very sad. It's very sad because I really liked his character, but he's going down a bad path. And I don't know if he, by the end of the series, will get away from it. But there's a lot of nastiness in this episode in terms of how the humans act. Like, the guys up there are fighting over their treasure, and then they end up getting shot with the arrows, so it doesn't even matter. So there's all this greed, there's all this anger and hatred. It's just embodied through Shiranui, it's embodied through Tahomaru, it's embodied through the men with Itachi. Dororo's the only patron saint, and even Hyakkimaru gets mad because he sees Tahomaru. And Dororo holds him back. And then Tahamaru's like, well, you're a monster and a demon. We're going to kill you. And Hyakkimaru's like, well, you've made yourselves my enemies. And I kind of like the way Hyakkimaru phrases that, because he doesn't call Tahomaru and them demons. He doesn't call them monsters. He doesn't call them necessary to die. He just says, you're my enemies. You've made yourself my enemy, and I can't be around you and you can't be around me. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, that choice of words felt very mature for Hyakkimaru, and I appreciated it. Also, Dororo has 9 lives. Dororo not getting hit by the arrows. Girl. But Shiranui was a wild card, and them basically doing the suicide mission with the bombs to try to take everyone in the island with him. Wild. So yeah, I like Dororo being like, we need to get out of here. We don't need the money. I liked the little bit of levity this episode of having Dororo and Itachi kind of butt heads. It's Dororo's maturity is wild to me, because Dororo is staring at a man who betrayed her father, sold him out, betrayed the mom, sold her out, exhumed her mom's body to get a map. And Dororo is still able to look Itachi eye to eye and treat them like a human being after all of that. And to me, that says a lot about Dororo's character and how they are, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, so they decide to use the explosives to their advantage to make a decoy to try to get the people to go up there where the explosions were happening and lure them away. It doesn't exactly work. But it was a good thought. It was a good thought. The moment Itachi got that damn arrow in his shoulder, I was like, he ain't gonna live. But I feel really bad. Now, I thought it was interesting that you got Hongo's weapon that had, like, the spiritual energy around it. And then we go over to where we see Tahomaru. And Tahomaru still looks clear. He doesn't have demonic energy around him yet, which is interesting. Because he technically hasn't killed the demon and stuff. He lit on fire, right? So it's a little bit different. But he's like, the demon harming our land of Daigo, Hyakkimaru. And Hyakkimaru's like, why am I a demon? I'm fighting demons. I'm just here to get my body back. Thank you very much. Cool. I feel so bad for Hyakkimaru. Hyakkimaru's like, I just want my body back. Leave me alone, y'all. Why y'all gotta be up in my business? Why? Also, I get really worried when Dororo's around all of them fighting. And the fact that Tahomaru said all that side with a demon will die, I'm like, would you really kill Dororo? I don't like that where that's headed. And also the fact that Tahomaru has said that, Hyakkimaru is probably going to be worried for Dororo when they're around because Dororo won't be safe. And I don't blame him for being worried, right? I hate it. Also, I think 3-on-1 was so unfair. Having Hyogo and Mutsu and Tahomaru against Hyakkimaru, like, that's not even a fair fight because they knew that 1-on-1 they would not stand a chance. Itachi actually did good in this episode by taking Dororo away, because I was worried if Dororo snuck around, because Hyakkimaru likes Dororo so much. I feel like that's his big weakness, and I feel like maybe they noticed that. So if Dororo had stuck around, I think they would have targeted her, and that would not have been good. Because we know how Hyakkimaru reacted when Mio died. So if Dororo went missing or whatever, that would not go over well at all. So I don't know. Also, Hyogo's weapon is really, really powerful and would hurt like a bitch. But Mutsu like getting the right spot, like while they're talking, Mutsu getting the spot against the tree. I worry about Hyakkimaru's back. Like that would hurt like hell, like getting the arrow through it that poked it. And he's like, why is he not like before? And Mutsu says, young master is the heir to the land of Daigo, and he bears all of it on his shoulders. And his resolve far exceeds yours. I do agree with that right now. I think right now, everyone keeps asking Hyakkimaru, why do you want your body back? What is your resolve? And all Hyakkimaru can offer right now is, well, I want my body because who wouldn't want to be human? It's mine. Why would I not want it? Why do I not have the right to it? I feel like with Dororo, though, here's the thing. With Hyakkimaru and Tahomaru, I wonder if Dororo is going to be placed into danger. I feel like she is, because if they're going to go fight Daigo head on, where's Dororo going to go? Because Dororo being in the center of that seems risky. So if something happens to Dororo, I feel like that's going to be Hyakkimaru's resolve. And the thing about it is, Tahomaru knows his dad is wrong. So his bond with his dad is kind of like, it's there, it's strong, but there is a question to it. Tahomaru is ignoring his mom. So that bond is not strong. Tahomaru says he's a man of the people and for the people, but does he really love the people? No, he just is doing it because that's what he thinks a leader should do. Before he thought it was the right thing to do. But now that he's kind of been, he's transitioned into this more Daigo-like mindset, is he really doing it to save the people, or is he doing it to be a leader like his dad? But I do think that he cares about Hyogo and Mutsu. The question is, does he care about Hyogo and Mutsu like Dororo, like Hyakkimaru cares about Dororo? And I think that Mutsu saying that Tahomaru's resolve to save his people and be a leader is stronger than Hyakkimaru's is correct for now. But if they put Dororo in jeopardy and Hyakkimaru's like, my resolve to keep Dororo safe is stronger than your resolve to your people, that could open up a whole new thing. That could be a whole new thing. And then he's like, well, why kill me? And what a question to ask, like, why kill me? Like, he's like, why are you killing me what does this have to do with anything? And then Mutsu says, your existence alone causes calamities to befall our land. And you're an enemy of the people of Daigo. The sad part is, Daigo is the enemy of the people of Daigo because of his actions. That's where this all started. They are directing their anger towards the wrong person, but we all know that. And it's like, ugh. It's like, bitch, no. And at that point, I don't blame Hyakkimaru for hearing that and going, fine. You all want to be this way? Then I'm just gonna, you guys are my enemies then. Whatever. I do like these shrines that are at the top. The stones all look like the Mother of Mercy, which is interesting. But man, Itachi got to the right one. And right as Itachi got to the one that he needed, that's when he gets hit with the arrows. What a way to go. That sucks. That sucks a lot. And then, of course, Hyogo and them, they're like, I'll shoot you down and all that side with you. I'm like, they're all just making these big generalized statements. And Hyakkimaru is like, really? Really? I do like that Dororo, like, knocks the stones over, which opens up the part where the treasure is. But then it causes them to slide down. And Hyakkimaru says, enemies. You're all my enemies. Which is really sad. I thought he was going to push Tahomaru into the arrow that was in the tree. I was expecting a damn red fern grows moment that was going to happen, and he didn't. He says, you are my enemies. And I hate that because so far, Hyakkimaru has not really had enemies. He's just killed the demons. But because of how Tahomaru and them are acting, it's made Hyakkimaru have enemies. And that's really sad. But again, Hyakkimaru didn't push Tahomaru into the arrow, and he could have. So I feel like that's saying something. I feel like that says something, and he's like, I won't let you. He's like, I'm not going to let you kill me. And Tahamaru gets a little bit cocky. He's like, well, I'll break your other arm. So Hyakkimaru is going to have to get another sword for that one arm. We'll see how that works. The action in this episode, especially the choreography with the fight scenes, was really, really good. Really good. Like, I loved the back and forth between the two brothers. The fight scene was really good. Also, I like how when the stones fall off the edge, it just looks like hands scraping aside. It's interesting. But yeah, so I can't believe Itachi made Dororo carry him to that cave. Like, that's a 10-year-old girl. You can't shuffle yourself. I guess they helped, but I will give Itachi this. When Shiranui was going to light all those bombs and take them all to hell with his sharks, Itachi saved Dororo. And you know what? I'll give Itachi that. I'll give Itachi saving Dororo. You redeemed yourself a slight bit. So here's the thing. When they go to retreat down the hill, they all start running down the hill together. And then there's like all the rocks and everything. So I guess that's when Hyogo got hit. We just don't get to see it directly. I really thought the show could show Hyogo getting like hit with the rocks, but they just save it for like a moment once they're on the boat. It's fine. It just threw me for a loop for a minute because I was like, wait a minute. When did that happen? But then Hyakkimaru's like, well, okay. I like that after everything is done, I like that Hyakkimaru does not go after Tahomaru. Like, that's a big change because normally when Hyakkimaru has his sights set on his prey, on a subject, like whether it's the demons or whether it's chasing after the people that attacked Mio or whatever, he doesn't let his focus take off from that. And here, even though Hyakkimaru and them are his enemies at this point, the first thing he says when the smoke clears is Dororo. Like, oh, I gotta go find Dororo and make sure she's okay. Which is a difference from before. So Hyakkimaru is slowly but surely growing a little bit. So then we see as the landslide gets done that Hyogo ended up getting injured. And I feel for Tahomaru and Mutsu looking really, really sad that Hyogo got hurt, but I'm like, it's kind of your fault. So it's like, I mean, it's not their fault, but it's still, connected to it. But I felt bad that Hyogo got hurt. I don't want Hyogo to die, but the moment that happened, I was like, that's a red flag. I don't know. What would drive Tahomaru to being the absolute worst and the least human? Probably losing his closest friends, which are Mutsu and Hyogo. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it's not good. So yeah, Itachi dies wanting to get to the treasure. And what I like about it is Dororo's not really fazed by the treasure. They just kind of look at it like, oh, this is what we fought for? This right here? I like that Dororo's young enough and has gone without, that they're not greedy. They take a little bit of money with them to like help them buy food, but I love Dororo making that decision going, I don't think that we need it. I don't think we need the treasure right now. We can always come back to the island and get it later. Yeah. And the thing about it is Tahomaru and his crew don't even know about the map. They don't even know about the treasure. Nobody knows about it. And I doubt Tahomaru would just randomly volunteer to go back to that place ever again. And the bandits and the stuff that knew about the map, they're all dead. So honestly, Dororo and Hyakkimaru are the only ones that know about it. So they're probably going to be able to come back and get that treasure again one day if they wanted to. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that happens. The one thing is Hyogo's on the boat getting patched up. To me, I don't know if that means Hyogo is going to be out of commission for the rest of the season. We're on episode 18. We still have 6 episodes to go. So it could be very likely that Hyogo heals up, or it could be that Hyogo's taken out of commission. I wouldn't be surprised, even if Hyogo and Mutsu live. I say they have death flags, but they might not die. But this episode, having Tahomaru needing to rely on Hyogo and Mutsu to fight Hyakkimaru, I think by the end of the season, if we have another confrontation with Hyakkimaru and with Tahomaru, I feel like what will happen is that either Mutsu and Hyogo will be injured. I don't know if they'll be killed or not, but I think they'll both be injured where they can't help Tahomaru, and it has to be Tahomaru versus Hyakkimaru by himself. He can't rely on his friends or his attendants to help him in that situation. Or Hyogo could heal up 2 episodes from now and be perfectly fine. We'll see. But yeah, we see him looking back at the island and then looking away and looking down at Hyogo. And then we see Jiromaru and Shiranui and all these, just lots of death and destruction in this episode. So much death and destruction. Not good, Cotton, not good. And then I like that Dororo like stays with Itachi and prays over them. It felt very Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. I loved that moment. Dororo's just a saint. She's just so perfect. When you meet Papa up there, don't quarrel with him this time. Oh, and I like that Hyakkimaru doesn't exactly know what's going on, but he waits for Dororo and he doesn't say anything, right? I really loved that. I loved that. I don't know what happened to his other hand. Maybe it's on the shoreline. But I really like that because before Hyakkimaru, before this episode, like back in episode 16, Hyakkimaru was like in a hurry to go and get out of there. And now he's waiting behind for Dororo to catch up. And that's, I like, it's very subtle, but I really like it. I think it's very appropriate. And he's like, when you have on what you have on your back can move people and change the world. And it's a source of great power. I love Dororo seeing all these circumstances though, because I feel like Dororo is learning that not to sound like Uncle Ben, but with great power comes great responsibility. And if you take that gold, what are you going to do with it? If you don't, it's kind of like if you don't know what you're going to do with that power, you really don't need it. Right? And so I feel like Dororo's like, I don't know what I would do with all this gold. So I'm going to keep it here until I get old enough to figure it out. And then I'll come back. And Hyakkimaru knows where the cave now. Well, Hyakkimaru can't see, but they kind of know. I don't know how to use this stuff, so I don't want it. Dororo is a saint. And Hyakkimaru holding the hand out to take Dororo's. Now, I know that the voice actor for both of these two are brother and sister, so the whole shipping thing, I was just speaking out loud. I don't know if that will happen or not, but I kind of would like if they stay just brother and sister, but we'll see. There's a series called Banana Fish where in the extras, there's two characters that there is a significant age difference and they meet whenever she's a lot younger and he's older. And it's not creepy, but it's like you wouldn't ship it. And then later you find out they end up together and you're like, oh, but they're adults at that point. And you're like, okay, I guess. So, but this kind of reminded me of that. But if they stayed just platonic bro and sister, I'd be totally fine with that, honestly. And I like Dororo says, Mom and Pop, wait till I figure it out. Just wait a little bit more. I love it. And it's only when Dororo goes to start taking the money that Hyakkimaru's like, okay, let's go. And then they leave. I love how serene that boat ride is with Hyakkimaru steering. Okay, he got his other arm back. With Hyakkimaru steering and Dororo just like closing her eyes and letting like the breeze hit. I love that. I love how tranquil and peaceful they are together. Mm-hmm. Aww. That's so sweet. Very somber. The Cave of Impermanence. This was a really good episode. I did not know how it would all come together. I thought it was going to be like mass chaos to have all of them like at once, but it honestly worked out really well. Like everything came together and was really fluid. I don't know how it's going to go for Tahamaru to go back to Daigo and be like, yeah, remember that mission we had? Well, we didn't do well. And they got away. So I don't know. I'm very curious where we go to from here. We're on episode 18, so we have 6 episodes left. I feel like the last 4 episodes, I feel like the last 4 episodes are going to tie everything together. So if we're in the second cour, if we have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, episode 20 would be the rule of 8. So for the second cour. So we're not quite there yet. But I don't know. Usually after a big battle or something like this, we kind of have like a 1 or 2 parter that's like separate. So I definitely feel like the last 4 episodes will probably deal with Daigo because they need to. But as to what's going to happen next week, I have no clue. So I hope that you've enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Dororo. Bye!